Roe versus Wade the movie, a docudrama about what all really happened. Hello, my name is Christina and welcome to my channel if you're new here, and welcome back if you've been here before. If you haven't yet, please click subscribe down below and click the bell to get reminders when I have new videos up. And also if you could click the like button, I would really appreciate that. One of the most recent movies that my husband and I have watched together is Roe versus Wade. I don't know where he heard about it, but he did, and he was intent on getting it. So initially, he had purchased it from one store, and it got lost in the mail. So then he purchased it again, and finally, that one did get to us. But before it got to us, because that was already 2 weeks into waiting for the movie, so we just decided to go ahead and rent it to view on Roku. And that movie is, wow. Just to give you right off the top, it is based on a book written by the man who brought Roe versus Wade into being, basically. He was a Jewish man, and even though he was Jewish, he didn't really practice the Jewish faith at all. He considered himself more or less kind of atheistic, agnostic. Anyway, so as the movie starts out telling the story from this man, so because it's drawn from his story, it's based on a true story as opposed to inspired by. Based on means a movie that is done about a story that actually did happen, and inspired by means it was inspired by real events, but they're not necessarily sticking to the facts in the movie. So this one is actually sort of a based on a true story, because this is what actually happened, and it's drawn from the book that the man wrote. So, Jewish man, he's dating this woman. He gets her pregnant, and she didn't want to get married. He didn't want to get married. At least she didn't yet. And so they decide to get rid of the baby. So he makes sure that she's able to procure an abortion. Well, as that sort of thing sometimes goes, in the process of rejecting his baby, he also lost the woman that he loved. And so he decides to go to school to become a doctor, an abortion doctor. Well, for some reason, what's already happened isn't enough for him, and so he and a group of friends start pursuing making abortion legal in the U.S. So the first step is making it legal in New York. And then they want to cross the country. And they don't want it just for special circumstances. They want it across the board. Actually, he argues that, well, can't we just have it be for, rape and incest? And his friend's like, no, it's all or nothing, the whole enchilada. And so they push for making, across the nation, nationalized legal abortion on demand. They're trying to figure out how they can do this. So they aim for Texas, because they say, oh, well, no one will ever be able to get abortion, legal in Texas. And so they find two lawyers straight out of law school, very green, not really any experience, to be representatives of a girl they name Roe. And it's not even her real name. It's a pseudonym to protect her, so that way no one can search her background. This woman never had an abortion. She was pregnant, but never had an abortion. And as things go, the two attorneys lied to her, and this girl is Norma. And she ends up having the baby before the case is ever really settled or heard, so nothing actually happens in the Texas court on these grounds because she had the baby and it was no longer an issue. So the case is taken to the Supreme Court. Now at the time, there's only 7 justices on the Supreme Court. Nixon was president, and he was trying to get his nominees through, but they were facing a lot of resistance. And it turned out that when they ran the case the first time, it kind of divided in an odd way. And it's revealed that in the end, 3 of the justices on the Supreme Court had family that either worked for or volunteered for Planned Parenthood. So a definite conflict of interest there. Somehow this was never brought to light. It was kind of buried. But yeah, So it wasn't even a full panel. And I've had friends before that be like, oh, well, and the whole Trump-Biden election thing, saying it doesn't matter if there's a Republican as president because look what happened with Roe versus Wade, and that was a Republican with Nixon. The thing was, though, there weren't 9 Supreme Court justices. There were only 7. It wasn't a full Supreme Court. They were very dirty and very tricky in how they did all this. Anyway, so as the movie proceeds on, they show a scene where this doctor is hanging out with his buddy on the beach. And they're drinking and flirting with these girls because he divorced and remarried several times. I think he married a total of 4 times. So he's hanging out on this beach, and they're sitting and they're drinking and they're bragging about what they do. And they're bragging about how they had the media in their pocket. The media does what they tell it to. So all the statistics saying that Americans were in favor of abortion, or how many abortions were really happening, or the death rate, everything as far as statistics went was made up by them. They gave the media information, statistics that they just came up with off the top of their head that they thought this sounds good for our cause, and gave the media those statistics, and the media went with it. Sound familiar, right? Very common to this day even. The liberals tell the media what to say, the media says it because the liberals own the media. So as the movie goes on, they find people to help with their cause. In fact, the one is a African-American doctor, a female. She's fantastic. There's a really good priest that they get involved. They have this fight on the other side, and obviously not the doctor's side, but on the other side to try and fight this cause. But for some reason, things seem to be going against them, which, as we know based off of history, things do go against them. So the doctor is very successful in getting all these things pushed through with Roe versus Wade, and as time goes on, he sort of gets in a battle with God. And there's a scene where he's actually in a church yelling at God and just sort of having it out with him. And it's like, for someone that you really don't believe in, you're sure arguing a lot with him. And so in some following scenes, he and one of his, I guess, co-workers, a comrade, they talk about how there's this new technology now that should allow it to be easier and more precise to do abortions. It's the ultrasound machine. So, in this scene where he's doing the abortion with the ultrasound machine, he's looking to his left and he can see the baby on the screen. He can hear the heartbeat of the baby, and he can see the baby trying to get away, and what he calls, I believe it's the baby scream or the baby cry, but he says that there's this sound that you can hear that the baby makes when the baby's trying to get away from the abortion. And seeing that baby moving around, it breaks him. And he just collapses to the ground, just curled up, and starts saying how sorry he is and begging God to forgive him. And that's the moment that I was like, yes, God got him. Now, mind you, at this point in the movie, I'm just bawling because I see this moment and I'm like, God got him. He got him. And the man's just devastated, realizing, and it's not even so much he's realizing what he's done as it's face to face. He can't deny that's a baby on that screen. And so he quits right then and there, and that's the end of him doing abortions. And in fact, he had a conversion experience much like Abby Johnson, where seeing that baby and hearing that heartbeat and knowing that the baby's trying to get away from it, and just flips a switch on him. And so he, in fact, ended up turning around and crusading against abortion. And he wrote a book, and he did, I guess, some documentaries, some interviews, because there's a clip at the end of the movie that shows him talking about the whole process and that moment when the baby cries out and what's going on. And he actually became an advocate against abortion as a result, which is phenomenal, really. It's like, I didn't know this before, but then I didn't know the whole history of where Roe versus Wade came from, and I bet a lot of people don't know either. But yeah, this movie, it opens your eyes because it shows you everything that happened along the way, all the crookedness, all the conniving and plotting and scheming that was behind it. And at the very, very beginning of the movie and at the very end of the movie, he's being interviewed. It's basically, it starts out with the interview and kind of flashes back to this is how it all happened. At the end of the movie, they're back with him talking to the reporter that he was talking to at the beginning of the movie. And the reporter kind of pins him on the whole, so wait a minute, you're saying you didn't know, but then you're saying you did know. And the doctor has to kind of admit that, yeah, he knew all along what he was doing. He knew all along that he was killing those babies. He was murdering those innocent babies. And I can't remember the exact number, but I think it was something along the lines of like, it was in the tens of thousands that he killed, all on his own. And one thing that's shown in the movie is he all along was in it for the money. Abortion was a very lucrative field to be in, and he made lots and lots of money. And another thing in the movie that really demonstrates is a lot of what was going on was spurred on by the sexual revolution. So that push for promiscuity. And so women were going out and being promiscuous, and the men that wanted to be promiscuous were being promiscuous with them. It's kind of like the barrier that kept men from being able to do that opened up with the sexual revolution. And so women, wanting to not have to deal with the consequence of that behavior, they were killing their babies. And they were doing it in the name of women's rights, not really understanding that they weren't actually getting any rights. They were giving up their rights, their ability for motherhood, and that baby's right to life. So, I do highly recommend this movie. If you are pro-life, it gives you a lot of information and statistics and the truth behind what happened to be able to argue with people who are pro-abortion or pro-choice and say, no, this is wrong, the history on it that you think you know is wrong, the statistics are crap, they're a lie that was fed to the media, and it was all just a show. It was all just a farce to get the murder of these poor, precious babies legalized. So it's a fantastic movie. I will try and put a little clip up here so you can see what the cover of it looks like. It has a lot of name actors in it that you might recognize. I know I started recognizing people fairly quickly as I was watching the movie, and so I looked up who the cast was. But very well cast, very well played, very well portrayed, just an amazing job. I mean, there were those moments when I was watching it that I was kind of yelling at the TV and shaking my fist and saying, no, that's a lie, that's wrong. And then there were those moments where I was sobbing and just at the beauty of what was being said and the defense that was being given and the sheer love for life that the people that were defending those babies had in the movie. And it was a really good movie to watch. So if you're looking for a good movie, a true movie, a movie that has some oomph to it and can give you some valuable information, this is a good movie for you. So Roe vs. Wade, the movie, highly recommend it. Thank you for watching my video. If you haven't yet, please click subscribe down below and click the like button and also click on the bell to get reminders of when I have new videos up. And also, if you don't mind, follow me on Instagram. I post little pictures and sometimes maybe little videos on there of things I have coming up that I plan to do on the channel. So if you want to see little snapshots of quotes that I've pulled from books that I'm reading that I like that will be coming up in the review, you'll find those on Instagram. And I'll have that at the end of this video, the address in the slide. And in the meantime, I will see you in my next video.